They did not die in silence. Their screams rose like prayers to a deaf sky, swallowed by the rhythm of the saw. Each pull was slow, deliberate. The saw ripped through bone and belief, a rhythm of agony meant to terrify. To the Persians, this was justice. To the faithful, it was martyrdom. It happened under King Shapur I, ruler of a vast empire that stretched across mountains, deserts, and blood-soaked roads. His priests, the Magi, guarded the sacred fire of Ahura Mazda. But now that flame faced a new threat, a forbidden faith that worshipped one unseen god. Christianity had reached Persia, and it was spreading. The king's patience burned out when word reached him of nobles, soldiers, and even royal slaves who had converted. One priest, furious, called them traitors to the sun. Another demanded punishment so severe that no soul would ever dare renounce the old gods again. Thus was born the decree, the sawing of the heretics. The prisoners were rounded up, men, women, and children, dragged from their homes at dawn. Shackled in iron, they were paraded through the streets, their faces beaten and bloodied. The priests followed behind, chanting hymns of purification, while the crowd jeered or wept in silence. The condemned were taken to the square, where wooden beams stood waiting like gallows. The tools of death were simple: thick planks, leather bindings, and the saw, a long, two-handed blade with jagged teeth dulled by use. It was not meant to cut cleanly. It was meant to rip, to shred, to force death to crawl rather than strike. The first victim was Jonas, a young priest who refused to renounce his faith. They stripped him naked, tied his feet high above the ground, and spread his arms apart. Hanging upside down, he faced his killers with blood rushing to his head. His body trembled, but his eyes held steady. At the signal, two executioners stepped forward, gripping the saw. They placed its teeth between his thighs. Then came the first pull. The sound was sickening, a wet crunch as flesh parted. Jonas gasped, his breath short, his prayer breaking mid-word. The saw rose and fell again, the rhythm slower this time. Blood streamed downward, running across his chest and dripping from his hair like black rain. The crowd watched, frozen between horror and awe. But Jonas would not cry out. With every pull, he whispered verses. The Magi grew furious. One shouted for them to cut faster, but the executioners hesitated. They had been told to prolong the suffering, to make the death itself a sermon. The saw reached bone. The sound changed, a brittle, grinding crack that echoed across the square. Jonas convulsed violently, his arms shaking against the bindings. The executioners paused, wiped the sweat from their brows, and began again. This time, their strokes were deeper, dragging splinters of rib outward as the flesh tore away. One of the priests stepped closer, shouting over the screams, "Behold what your false god gives you, pain." Jonas's answer was a whisper, "Forgiveness." And then, with one final pull, the saw split him open to the chest. His voice stopped, his body swung limply in the warm wind. But that was only the beginning. The next to face the saw was Daria, a noblewoman. Accused of converting her servants, she was tied upright, her hair matted with blood. The executioners began at her abdomen. The first slice made her scream once, sharp and brief. Then silence. She clenched her teeth, her jaw trembling as the blade moved upward, sawing through ribs one by one. Her blood spattered the ground, soaking the sand into dark mud. When the saw struck her sternum, she looked upward and said, "I see the heavens opening." The crowd fell still. One of the Magi dropped his incense burner and backed away. Even the executioners slowed, their faces pale beneath the blood. But orders were orders. The sawing continued until the top of her head split open like wood. By noon, the air was thick with the stench of iron and smoke. The wooden frame creaked beneath the weight of corpses. Executioners replaced their dull saws with fresh ones. Each stroke grew slower, more deliberate, each scream blending into a chorus that haunted the city for days. One young soldier, forced to assist, vomited and begged to be excused. His commander struck him across the face. "This is the king's justice," he barked. "Learn from it." The boy obeyed, but he never forgot. Years later, he would whisper the story to his children in secret, warning them never to trust men who kill in the name of faith. As the sun began to set, only one prisoner remained, a gray-haired bishop whose name has been lost to history. They bound him as they had the others, but before the saw touched his skin, he spoke to the crowd. "Do not fear those who can cut the body," he said. "Fear those who kill the soul." The saw began to move, slowly, deliberately. The first stroke cut shallow, the second deeper, but he did not scream. He sang. His hymn rose above the grinding metal, echoing through the smoke-filled square. The crowd wept openly now. Even the magi turned away. The song faltered only when the saw reached his throat, and then silence. When it was done, the sand was black. The saws lay dull and broken, their handles slick with sweat and blood. The priests declared victory, but no one cheered. The horror of the day had burned into every heart that witnessed it. Yet the message of fear failed. Within weeks, more Persians converted. Some out of conviction, others out of defiance. The stories of Jonas, Daria, and the bishop spread across the empire, whispered by merchants and travelers. The king had wanted obedience. What he created was legend. Years later, the very faith he tried to erase would cross deserts and kingdoms, carried by those who remembered the screams of the sawn martyrs. They became saints in memory, symbols of endurance against tyranny. Their flesh perished, but their faith endured. Split not by saw or empire, but forged in agony. So, what do you think? Were they heroes or victims of blind devotion? Tell me your thoughts below. And if you thought this was the height of cruelty, wait until you hear the tale of those burned alive in bronze basins of fire. The punishment Pharaoh Busiris used to please his gods with living flesh in ancient Egypt.